think we have 120, and the sooner we get going, the sooner you guys will have some time to kind of mess with some of the technology that we're going to be talking about. My name is Brian Unruh. I'm the coordinator of instructional technology for Cedar Falls Schools, and I have my esteemed colleagues in the back, and I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves for everyone.
Hi, I'm Hilary Iehl. I am an instructional technology coach at one of our 2 junior highs in town.
I am Wagner. I'm an instructional technology coach. There's 6 elementaries in Cedar Falls, and so I'm coach at 3 of them.
I'm Joe Carney. I'm the instructional technology coach at the other 3 elementary schools. And please follow us on Twitter if you haven't already.
Oh yeah.
Nice, good plug.
Thank you.
I'm the instructional technology coach at the high school at CF.
And
I'm the instructional technology coach at the other junior high. I'm Jennifer Paulson.
All right, so welcome. As Joe said, these guys are a great follow on Twitter with the different types of technology that they use, examples of it straight in the classroom, so I'd encourage you to do that. First off, so what we're going to do is talk to you about our technology kits, and we'll kind of explain what those are a little bit more, kind of how we use them, how we manage them, kind of the nuts and bolts. Please ask questions along the way too, as we kind of talk about the ins and outs. Then we're going to talk about how these have been shared and utilized with teachers, which is what our coaches are going to kind of talk about, and then give some time at the end to lay some of the technology out, let you mess with the things that interest you, and maybe just get to be a little bit more familiar with some of the things that we're going to be talking about and sharing, especially if you hadn't heard of them before. So first things first. So what are these technology kits that we're talking about and referencing? We wanted to try to utilize technology and provide additional opportunities for our kids within our buildings. We've got 9 buildings within our district, and even though we have some money that we can put toward technology, not every building can afford their own set of things, as we talk through and explain the different pieces that we're trying to provide. So the idea behind it is if we can get a set, a classroom set or a subset type of thing, and so we're looking for either for small group or whole group instruction, that we provide that, we purchase that, and then it kind of gets thrown into kind of the hopper of our technology kits, and then people can sign up for those through our instructional technology coaches and check those out to use, whether it's for a couple weeks or a couple days. Our technology coaches become important people to coordinate and try to work through some of that. Let's click on that website. And if you have your presentation, you can go there. This is actually a work in progress. We have an integrating technology site, and there's lots of different things that are here, and feel free to look at that and mess around with that. But what we've done is listed off the different types of things that are here, and it's an ever-growing list. Our goal is, and so right now we just have the Google Expeditions, but so we have a set of Google Expeditions. People familiar with Google Expeditions? That's going to be something that might be cool. Kenton's going to show us that. Basically, we use an iPod in with the ViewMaster viewer. Joe's holding one up there, and you can lead different, basically virtual reality kinds of 360-degree different trips around the world, science into the human body, all kinds of different things. So if you haven't heard of Expeditions, check out that. Ozobots is also something else that we're going to let you mess around with, and I think Luke's going to do that. Those are little robots, if you haven't seen those. Tons of really cool opportunities and connections, either coding them straight on with color codes on paper or using Blockly and coding them that way. And then Osmos, we're going to have a couple of stations with Osmos. They work with the iPads and basically have different hands-on manipulatives that you can do down in front of the iPad, and you interact with the program on the iPod as you're manipulating those physical things in front of you. We've got Spheros. We didn't bring any of those, but the programmable spheres, Sphero. Green screen is going to be out the door and to the right with Jen. That's pretty self-explanatory, but there's lots of kind of neat ideas and things that you can accomplish with that. We have a couple 3D printers that quite honestly hasn't necessarily worked out quite as well as what we had hoped this past year. And trying out a different kind of printer. Breakout EDU, we've got a couple different sets of those that I know that our elementary tech coaches have been utilizing a ton, as well as the other coaches too. But swivel, we have a couple swivels which are great for capturing what's happening in the classroom. It's a little base, and you stick either an Android or an iOS device in, and you plug it into the device, and then the teacher wears a lanyard, and it's also a microphone, and I can be instructing and talking through and going over and talking, and it sets kind of, you can set on anywhere in the room, and it'll follow you wherever you go, and it records the audio off of your lanyard. It's really great for capturing observations if you want to do maybe a debrief with teachers later. Caterpillar, those were shared this morning. Some of these were shared this morning. It's a few familiar faces. Great with the primary pre-K through 2. That's going to be out in the hallway with Joe. And basically coding, you've got the body of your caterpillar, and then the different segments that give it a different command, either straight or turn, and you have it go and manipulate the caterpillar, have it go. Awesome for pre-K 2. And we've just recently had kind of a repurposed an old set of iPads to try to utilize that and bring that in, especially for some of the areas that within our district don't have access to iPads, creating kind of a roving lab that might be utilized in different ways. So those are our tech kits, and we actually purchased an HTC Vive as well that I'm anxious to kind of get the kinks worked out and utilize that in with some virtuality things, and that'll go into our tech kit as well. So we kind of vet different products. We've seen a couple that we might look at adding to our checkout system, but we look at different things that we can see connections in with the curriculum and how can it be supported. We try to stay away from getting technology that's like, wow, that's really awesome, that's really cool, that's slick. But thinking through it might start there, but then it always goes into, okay, so then what connections can we make? What pieces does this fit into, whether either curriculum connections, district initiatives that we're working on. So we've talked about kind of getting 12 pairs. We want to make sure that it's at least a 2-to-1 ratio within the classroom. There are some individual things like the Vive, the swivels. We also have a Theta camera, a 360-degree camera. Talked about how providing this to the buildings. The other part of this too is the buildings do have some funds that are available, or you have PTA money, parent-teacher association, and so sometimes, I know it doesn't happen a ton, but once you get toward the end of the year, you kind of end up in a use it or lose it situation, or you're kind of like, well, let's buy technology. Well, sometimes you're kind of like, well, I don't know, what kind should we get? Well, let's get iPads. Well, we might have tons of iPads already, or at least enough to do some things. Now, at least building administrators and teachers have been exposed to different pieces that might complement technology we already have, so they can maybe use some of those funds if things have worked out well. And you know what? Hey, wow, really like that Osmo pizza company. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. You know what? Let's go ahead and get a set for our 3rd grade or whatever. So I think we're getting to that point, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So that's also the other piece of this. The way that we work this is that if a teacher is interested, we've really tried hard to get the information out. We, within our new teacher orientation at the beginning of the year, we have worked with them and exposed them to the different pieces of technology that we have within our tech kits. Putting it out, talking about it at staff meetings, different opportunities. And so that if people want to utilize that, they'll catch one of their tech coaches, send them an email, whatever it is, and then they'll coordinate with them on our schedule. And this is what our master schedule looks like. It's basically, it is a Google spreadsheet. And so we've got tabs across the bottom for the different tools the kits that we have. and we want to just see which coach is doing it, which school does it go to, and what teacher are we working with. So we've used this system a couple of different ways. So obviously for coordination, and hey, I see that you're getting the next, I need to get you the XYZ kit because that's coming up next and I have it. The other part is and we just did this here within the last week, our Osmos are very popular, and our K1, 2, they've really wanted to use them. In fact, we've had our 7th grade use different components of it too, which is a little bit of an unexpected twist, which was great. But we have some kits that are booked out through
March.
And so for us not to, that's hard, you know, hey, I'd like to use that, when could I use it? Well, middle of April looks to be a good time. Okay, well, maybe I'll talk with you later. So we look at our demand too, and so last week we purchased a couple more sets of our Osmo, of our 12 sets of Osmos, just to help supplement what's there, because if there's a need and people are using it, we want to make sure that we can get it in the students' hands. How do we afford it? So our district, we're fortunate. The administration within our district values technology and values the opportunities that it provides our students. And so they've set aside some money for us to utilize each year. And so we try to make the best choices that we can with that. We've purchased our expedition kits and basically all these different pieces over the last couple of years. It's a recurring piece, but we've also looked at different types of grants to help supplement it. And again, like we talked about before, that if it was something that, if each building was to purchase this, it just wouldn't fly. So if you look at, hey, you know what, this is an experience we want all of our kids to be able to experience, or many, or most of our kids, this becomes an opportunity versus, well, we're just don't have the money for it, but we're not going to do it. So that's kind of the thinking behind it. Shared resources, grants, donations, again, the PTA kind of pieces.
I think we also have a lot of things that are on the cheaper side of the
Yeah.
dollar amount. Like our Cotapillars are $35 to $40. Ozobots are like $60 a piece. So like we have a few things that are more on the affordable end too.
Yeah. So now I'm going to have, I wanted our tech coaches to kind of talk through some of the things that they've done with teachers, how they worked with teachers, how they might coordinate efforts and also support teachers. Because it's not a chance for our coaches to be up on stage and to go in, but how do they then help support the teachers, let them feel comfortable with it, because in the end, we want them to be comfortable using it, checking it out, and taking care of it. So, Joe.
Well, I just think the biggest thing for us, our TLC grant started last year, and so last year was our first year. So really the bulk of the year for us was getting to know the teachers, getting to know the equipment that we had, and sort of figuring out what the needs were. This year it's more that gradual release, trying to get the technology into the teachers' hands and letting them do it, rather than having us come in and, like Brian said, be the expert. The other piece is we've gone more from, you know, here's a nice toy, let's fit it in somewhere, to, okay, you're planning this unit, what piece of technology do we have that can supplement that? So I mean, like the coding, these are both examples of coding, but the Google Expeditions, 2nd graders, for example, study dinosaurs. And so we went on a Google expedition to museums all around the world to see dinosaur fossils. They studied the ocean in kindergarten, so we went under the ocean to see different kinds of fish and coral and things like that. Clouds, there's all kinds of expeditions that we do with that.
There's lots of ones on space for first grade.
Yeah. So there's all kinds. I just did one earlier last week where a 5th grade class was introducing Native American cultures, and so we went on an expedition as sort of not as a culminating activity, but almost as an introductory activity, just to get some ideas about what Native American culture looks like in different categories.
Bouncing off of that, Joe, like it's a perfect segue when you're talking about expeditions. Teachers see that and they're immediately like, I can't do this. I don't know how to operate this technology on my own. And so it's our job as a team to say, okay, you can do this. We're going to walk you through how this works. And so we would do a little planning with that teacher beforehand, say kind of what's the goals that you're wanting, what are you wanting to get across. work with that teacher, and then show them, and then inevitably every time they're like, oh, that's it? This isn't that hard. Well, that's what we're trying to get you to see, and the kids are just enamored. Whether it's an Osmo, an Expedition, it's a Codapillar, they're loving life. The picture on the right, normally people are just like, oh, coding is just for those upper kids. It's just for those kids that are really good in math or really good in science. Well, coding, we all know, kind of reaches that different part of the brain. So having all kids exposed to that, we want all kids to be able to be good problem solvers, to be good thinkers. And so this is a perfect example of how you can incorporate that into the room. And again, Osmos are around $100. That might be out of reach for some schools, but if you have one kit for your district, you can buy those, check those out, and send them. The Codapillars, like Hilary mentioned earlier, $35 a piece. We have 6 of them, and they travel to the different elementary buildings. And even this year, I've gone into first grade rooms, and the kindergartners are like, "Is Cody coming? Is he here?" Well, no, we're doing something different. But they remember those things. Those are experiences that kids won't forget. And so this is a very easy opportunity to put those into your classroom, and it makes a big impact.
And some things that we don't have kits for, we do mystery Skype with mystery number with different classrooms across the country. We've done, there's one other one that I was trying to think of, breakouts, of course. And then there was one more that I can't currently remember, so we're going to go on.
I actually put this picture up because all of our pictures today are of elementary kids because they're cuter. Just kidding to the junior high kids. Anyway, I would say to echo some of the stuff that Joe and Luke have said at the secondary level, I feel like we have a little bit more of a resistant population of teachers that we're working with sometimes because content comes at the forefront, and so helping teachers see that some of this problem solving skills goes right along with their content, and you can get at the same stuff in a different way has been a big part of my job. Doing a breakout instead of a review basketball game, doing a green screen project at the end of a unit instead of writing a paper. There's been a lot of different opportunities to switch what we've been doing in the classroom forever to something at a higher level.
I think of one of the coolest ones with if you're thinking expeditions, it was a 9th grade teacher talking about trench warfare. And you could see it and you could hear it, and then they could walk, and you're literally looking around and it feels like you're there. What an immersive thing for kids to experience and see, that most schools can't afford that much for that one kit, but if the district has a combined effort to have that available for everyone, how useful that would be.
And combining this technology with other tools and tactics that we've had in our back pocket forever, with that trench warfare, the teacher removed the desks. We sat in between rows of desks, crammed in next to each other. We watched it for a little bit, and then we had to journal about it. So it was a pretty powerful example, but we were able to give kids the visual with it. Oh, there's more elementary kids.
Yeah, they were doing a weather forecast, and so these girls were adamant that they needed fans blowing in the background to show that it was a blizzard. And I kept having to say, ladies, it's going to move the screen. And the screen the blizzard isn't really behind you. And so then, when it kept blowing, they were like, well, it's messing up the picture. Well, yeah, because it's not a real blizzard behind you, it's just a screen. But for them to be able to get up there, deliver this weather forecast, this was their culminating experience when they were doing nonfiction weather unit with Lucy Calkins. So this was one of the 4th grade units that they had to produce, and then that again falls back in with the standards for producing something and publishing with digital media. So they put it on Seesaw, and then they also put it into their Google Drive and then sent that to their parents so they could see that.
All right. So, let's see, Jen, do you want to add anything?
Sure. I work at the high school, and basically the way that these get used there is it has to fit in with the goals of the teacher. It's not something that can be forced upon them. It's not something that really even can be heavily suggested. It's more has to fit in with the goals of what they're trying to accomplish in the class. And that's really true of all coaching, frankly, not just technology coaching. And so some of these things I wouldn't really ever expect to use at the high school, but that's okay. That's why we have such a wide range. And I think that's been mostly a productive thing. For instance, we've had kids create, that gives them a little bit more choice on student projects with the green screen. The expeditions has been a good, like Joe mentioned, introductory activity for some. And so when it has fit in with the goals of the high school teachers, it's been really positive.
Expeditions allowed me to wedge myself into classes that probably wouldn't have been interested before, and I've gotten a reputation apparently around school because of those. So when I walked into my first classroom this year, one of the kids said, "Mrs. Paulson, is there a googly goggly thing for Jamestown? Because I think we should go there." I think we should go there first so we can see it before we do this DBQ. And well, of course there is a Jamestown one, but it didn't fit in the teacher's schedule, so we didn't do it. But the kids are starting to suggest, hey, we know about this technology and we'd like to use it. So the kids pressure the teacher and to make a jump that they might not be familiar with. And,
also going on that, collaborative teams have been huge for me. Like if one teacher does it, then suddenly the whole team wants to do it. Drums up a lot of business. So that's been some really positive peer pressure.
And just kind of thinking about the logistics, the 5 of us work really well kind of off of that Google sheet and say, okay, I need this here. Okay, you have these today, but I need these tomorrow. How are these going to get there? So it takes a lot of communication between the 5 of us to say, how are we going to get this from A to B? Who's kind of responsible for that? And we've decided that as a team, how that's going to work. We store it at the main administration building, so we know if it's available for use, it'll always be there. Otherwise, it's out in one of the buildings.
Any questions? All right, so the next part is we want to get you into the technology. So we're going to use the remaining time, which is about 25-ish minutes, I think, or so. Kenton is going to do expeditions, and we could end up pulling out more if you want help pulling out more. We're going to have expeditions maybe over here on these 2 tables.
Yeah, that works great.
And then I'm going to have some around that far table over here. We're going to use Pizza Shop and I think numbers. And then maybe in the back, we're going to have, do you want to stay in the back or do you want to go to the table?
I'll just stay back here. People can stand and
So
I've got tangrams and words and coding.
Okay. And then out that door is the Codapillars with Joe, and out this door to the right is Jen with the green screen. And so we're going to let you, we're not going to rotate people through with things, but I want you to get out and experience the technology that you're interested in. Luke, do you want to be at one of these 2 tables here?
Yeah.
Luke's got the Osmos. Ozobots, sorry. Those are awesome. So, if you just bear with us and give us about a minute just to set things up, but feel free to